Hey guys, how are you? Today it's Nick here from the Ice Hockey Aussies. We're joined here for Power Rankings Week 8, and we're going to jump straight into it with my pick. And guess what, guys? We've got a new 32. I didn't think we'd see it, but the Chicago Blackhawks move into the 32nd position, taking it from the San Jose Sharks, which I just didn't think we'd see.
Yeah, no.
And you've done the same.
No, I did the same. It was quite kind of warranted. San Jose's just been playing better, just recently, and Chicago has not.
Yeah, it's I mean the loss of Hall, the loss of Perry, they're not coming back anytime soon. Well, Perry's not coming back at all. Hall's not coming back anytime soon, I don't think. So, um, yeah, it's trouble, and I don't think Bedard can carry them. But look, they're young. It's gonna happen. You can't be angry. Um,
Nah, at least
but it is
Bedard's
what it
mum's
is.
having some fun. That's it. I'm kidding.
Oh, those rumors spread so fast. But
Yes.
look, yeah, they got cleaned up. It's all good. Perry did nothing to Connor Bedard's mum, we swear. Uh,
Well, Taylor Hall's on the
uh,
sideline now. We'll see. Alrighty. On
um,
to 31. I have the San Jose Sharks not moving too far, but finally out of the 32.
but look, yeah, exactly. I mean, they're playing as like I just didn't expect it.
Yeah, well,
But
they,
what
they
can you
beat
say?
beat Washington, blanked by Boston on the back to back, get absolutely destroyed by New Jersey, but New Jersey basically makes six mistakes and they put six goals in, and that's all you need to do in hockey. It's just a end score game, so they win that game, and that warrants them moving out of 32.
Yeah, for sure. And look, they're getting wins, so it's good for their
Yeah,
fans. At
doesn't
least
matter how
they
you get
don't
them as
have to
long as
be.
you get them.
Well, exactly. They don't have to be miserable for the entire year like it was saying it was going to be. So, yeah, at least they're getting somewhat of a shining light in what they already knew was going to be pretty shit. Um, all right, moving on to 30. And look, after their little holiday up in the top 16, the Anaheim Ducks have crashed down to planet Earth.
Back
Yeah,
to back to normalcy. Me too.
P30. I mean, I think we all knew it was going to happen, but
I didn't think it was sustainable. That's for sure. But
no.
I didn't think they'd drop that hard that quick.
Mm.
But yeah, destroyed by Edmonton, lose to Vancouver, lose by a goal to Washington, and then they do get the shootout win, sorry, against Colorado. So they ended the week good and strong, but yeah, it's just been ordinary for too long, I guess. You get punished for it.
Yeah, it's why I considered not dropping them as low, but again, I look at the teams that moved above them, and it was warranted. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Nah, that fair, cool. Alrighty, 29 for me. Team moving down, Seattle Kraken.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
just as you thought they were on the way up, they fire straight back down.
Yeah, just disappointing overall. I like the team, have high expectations. Probably like a lot of their fans. Lose to Chicago, shootout loss against Toronto, then they lose and blanked by Ottawa. So nothing to really hype about besides probably playing pretty decent against Toronto and it going to shootout, and shootout's just a tie. But
And they're out shooting their opponents. That's
th-
probably
th-
the other
that
one.
that's the strong thing. But just conceding, just goals. Basically averaging what 3 goals this week. So and just not putting enough in. Offense is a problem.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much sums it up. All right, for me at 28, I've got moving up a couple of spots. Maybe they're hinting on a little bit of a comeback, the Minnesota Wild.
Oh yes, me too.
Ooh, nice. We've been red hot in the first five, but yeah, look, I mean, tough start to the week, losing to Detroit 4-1. But then they beat the Blues 3-1. They beat Nashville 6-1, just as Nashville were in some red hot form. So yeah, like two decent wins against division rivals as well. So yeah, a good week overall, even though it started a bit shaky for Minnesota. I'm not sure if it indicates that they're on their way back up, but it's definitely better from them.
Yeah, their start was just well. I think they're 3-5-2 or something like that. Maybe a little bit better, like 6-2 or something in their last 10. So it's a pretty ordinary record, but they are digging themselves out of the hole. But a lot more to do. unfortunately for them. On to 27, Buffalo Sabres. A team I didn't think would be this low.
Yeah, I punished them just as much, and I agree with you. I don't know what is going on with them.
You pulled out the whip. Yeah, so do I. It's interesting. You'd look at all the past seasons and you'd think, oh, this is just standard Buffalo. But I, like many other people, thought they would be different from this point. And they started off well. They beat Rangers, and you're like, okay, it's Buffalo. And then they go and lose to St. Louis and Carolina, conceding 6 goals in both games. Granted, they had over 20 shots extra on St. Louis, but yeah, just what 12 goals in 2 games. You just can't let that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems to be their problem. They can score goals, but they can concede them just as fast. And at the moment, they're conceding them faster than they're scoring. So yeah, they've got to fix that defense. They've got two solid defenders, like young defenders in Darlene and Power. I know Power's still trying to find his way, but they need to shore that defense up. And I know the goaltending situation is not the greatest, but it's definitely going to hold them out of a playoff spot if they don't fix that up. That's for sure. All right, 26. I mean, it's interesting having these guys above some of these others, but the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Alrighty. Yes, same for me.
Yeah, look, they had a pretty interesting week. They obviously start with a loss against Carolina, but look, 2-3 to Carolina, that's pretty good. Carolina obviously top 10 team in the league. But then on a back-to-back beat Boston 5-2. Absolutely monstrous win that, like especially on a back-to-back. Boston weren't on a back-to-back either, which is, makes it even more impressive. They
Scheduling.
lose. Yeah, exactly right. They lose to Montreal, which was a little bit of a down moment for them this week, but then they beat Ottawa 4-2. So, 4 out of the 8 points, but they get 2 wins against two reasonable teams and a close loss against a top 10 side as well. So, yeah, good week for them. And they're showing glimpses, but they still manage to have a 2-0 lead and then cough it up, which has been their problem all year. So
Hmm.
they just need to clean that up.
Yeah, I guess my concern for them was that I think it was the second worst shot differential for the week, or third worst, sorry. Um, but that was basically it for Columbus there. Otherwise, a good week. On to 25, I have the Montreal Canadiens.
Sure. If we have to look at us go exactly the same list up until this point. It's not bad. Um,
Yes.
Montreal, yeah,
So they beat the Blue Jackets back to back. They get 5-1 by Florida, and then they go and OT lose to Detroit. So a little bit of everything this week for Detroit, but just other teams are just performing better at the lower ends, and so they've just got to move down. And look, they're competing, but they still have some woes, and that is why they are so low.
yeah, exactly. Like you look at some of the teams that overtook them this week, and you kind of understand why it's happened. Like you look at who was it? The Islanders, Flames, and Oilers. I think are above them this week, so you can understand why that's the case. It's not necessarily they had a bad week. It's just the teams ahead of them doing a little bit better. All right, 24. I have this is a massive drop, but the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Ooh, done
Yep,
the same thing as well.
I had them in the top 16, or you had them one spot higher than me last week. But yeah, that was a disgusting week by Tampa, and I still can't work them out because they get Vasilevsky back, and they go, look, it's a tough week. I'll give them that. But they go 4-1 loss against Colorado, 3-1 loss against Arizona, 4-2 loss against Pittsburgh, and an 8-1 absolute demolition against Dallas.
Mm.
I just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they are back. People were saying that they're all right, they're looking good, but I don't know. I just,
My issue is
mm,
they played 4 games, they only scored 5 goals, and
mhm.
they outshot their opponents by 31 shots. So that math doesn't line up when they had negative 14 goal differential, especially for thank you to that Dallas game. But yeah, it's just what happens when you just lose too many personnel, some bad trades. And look, they still have a probably like one line. They're kind of in Edmonton territory now, but they do have a goaltender, which is good, and and a defender. Um, but yeah, a bit ordinary. A big move by both of us. On to 23.
Yeah.
If you got any more to say?
No, it's just I get like Vasilevsky obviously got lit up and he's only just returned, so we'll see if he can find his old groove. But yeah, it is still worrying signs.
Alrighty, 23. Ottawa Senators.
Yeah. Yep. Nah, I had enough of these guys. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna chime in. They're really pissing me off because like I thought this was their year, and they just when I think they're there, they slap me in the face
Mm.
and fall again. So I've had enough. They had to drop.
No, that's just it. Like you know what they're capable of. They play well, but they start off the week getting blanked by Florida 5-0. They lose to Columbus, even though they have an extra 20 shots. It seems to be the trend this year for some reason. You score more than 20 shots over your opponent, you will lose the game. And then on a back-to-back, they blank the Kraken and win that game. So yeah, it's kind of the same the roller coaster system that Ottawa just seem to play. And a couple games where they dominate and they still lose, and it seems to be their trend, seems to be their motto, and that's why I'm just moving on them now.
Yeah. I've had enough. I hope they turn it around because I really do like this side. I had high hopes for them, but they're too Jekyll and Hyde. They had to move. So yeah. All right, 22 for me is the New York Islanders.
Ooh, same for me.
They had a good week in terms of points. I think they took 5 of the 6 points. Oh no, they actually lost to the Devils, so only 4 of the 6. That Devils game, heartbreaking for them to lose with 20 seconds to go. So realistically, they should have probably taken a point, and especially given that they were up. Um, what was it, 4-1? I think they were up, and then they end up losing 5-4. So yeah, a bit unfortunate there, but they get a good win against Carolina 5-4 in overtime, even though they got absolutely lit up with shots 16-43, and then they get a win against the Florida Panthers with a similar situation 27-45. And I think that was the issue I had with them this week is they got outshot
Yep.
52.
Yep.
That was their shot differential.
Western League this week.
Yeah, and so yep, okay, you can say they had the two wins and the really close loss that they probably should have had at least an OT point, but 52 shots different. Like you are getting absolutely lit up, and the only reason you have done better than you had is probably because you've gotten some lucky shots off, and Sorokin hasn't completely shit the bed. I think maybe Varlamov as well, but yeah.
Alrighty. 21. Edmonton Oilers on the move up. I think
Look,
I think this team's back to form. They're having a good week. They kind of have to string it together though. They're going a bit streaky with wins and losses. They beat Anaheim, basically destroying them 8-2. Vegas shootout win. Winnipeg 3-1 win, and that is their week. Undefeated. I think they're back. I just need to make sure that they're not going to be the streaky team that puts a lot of losses together and puts a lot of wins together. That's it. So that's why they don't
yeah.
move further. But I think they're playing good.
Yeah, that was my hesitation as well. I mean, their last 10, they're 7-3, but they are also 3 wins, 3 losses, 4 wins. So it's like they've just put 4 wins on the trot again, but are they going to follow that up with 4 losses? So I think if we see another red hot week from them, I can definitely see them in the top 16 because they're moving quickly, even though, their record still is pretty shit.
Mm.
But yeah, they're definitely performing a lot better than they have been. All right, at number 20, I have the Calgary Flames, Battle of
Ooh,
Alberta for the highest power rankings position.
I think
Hey,
this might be a record of the same rankings.
I
12.
know. I'm wondering if we can get to the top 16. Actually, I think it'll be pretty close. I can't see too much of a difference, although you may have done a couple of different things
Yeah,
than
no,
I have this year.
I'm whacked sometimes. We'll see.
But yeah, look, I mean, what can you say about Calgary? Like they've been putting it on lately. They get a good win against Vegas 2-1. They get a good win against Dallas in OT. And they kept Dallas to what 16 shots, which is pretty tough to do against a pretty high firepowered team. And then they get a 3-4 loss against Vancouver, who aren't, they're not chumps. That's three solid teams, three teams in our top 10. Um, so yeah, look, great week by Calgary, and if they keep having those weeks, they're gonna move up the rankings.
Alrighty, on to 19. I have the St. Louis Blues.
There we go. We've only got two more to do. I reckon we might do it. I'm interested. I think we're gonna have the same two teams,
They could
but
be flip flopped, yeah.
it might be flipped. Yeah.
So St. Louis, they go 500 basically. Beat Chicago, lose to the Wild, beat Buffalo, and then they lose to um, Arizona. The Buffalo win. They were outshot by 26, but they get the win. Just seems to be the way. And look, well, I guess the reason why they moved just a little bit lower is just their wins were against Chicago and Buffalo, and they are pretty much at the bottom of my power rankings here. So, and they lose to the Wild, who is at the power in the same spot, and they lose to Arizona, who is the highest of them all. So easy draw, and they don't come out over 500.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much my sort of thing with it as well. I think you expect them to beat Chicago, you expect them to beat Buffalo with the I shouldn't say expect them to beat, but with the way Buffalo are at the moment, they should. But they should also beat Minnesota. So yeah, they
And
slip
yeah,
a little
I
bit.
feel like they should do better than a 4-1 loss to Arizona. Granted, they had
Arizona as well.
10 more
Yeah.
shots and stuff, but I feel like they should have taken to OT maybe.
Yeah, 100%. All right. At 18, let's see if we have well, if we keep this streak alive. I have the Nashville Predators.
Hey, there we go. If we did it.
Hey, all right. So I'm pretty certain we're gonna have the same 17.
It's
Um,
fascinating. I don't move on them and you move up two positions, but end up at the same spot.
yeah, but yeah. Look, I mean, it was tough with Nashville because like they get a good win against Winnipeg, who are a top. Well, they were fourth in my rankings. I'm pretty sure they were pretty close to that in yours. They beat Pittsburgh, who's a pretty good win, but they had that real down loss against Minnesota. Um, but then they bounce right back against the Rangers, and unfortunately they lose it late. So
Mm.
look, I didn't want to punish them too much for the game against Minnesota because then they bounced right back. They played really, really well against the Rangers, and the Rangers are pretty much the best team in the league right now. So two good wins against two good teams, and then a blip on the radar, and then a close game against one of the best teams. So for me, I like what they're doing. They had to move up a couple of positions.
Yeah, I was the same. I just didn't move on them. If they got a point from the Rangers game or the Wild game, I would have definitely had them at 17. But just because they didn't get a point, that's just why I couldn't move them up. All right, 17 for me. I have the New Jersey Devils.
Knew it was going to be the same. If you put him in his top 16, I was gonna be
No,
disappointed.
I think like 17, 18, 19, like they're just outside the top 16, but I feel like it's a quiet week outside the top 16. Devils, they start off beating the Islanders. They OT win against the Flyers, and then they absolutely destroy the San Jose Sharks, only on ice and not on the scoreboard. And that's pretty much it there. So they lose against San Jose, granted on a back to back. But yeah, they would have been probably been in my top 16 if they beat San Jose, but that's a big blip, even though they played well.
Yeah, that was the same thing with mine. I think, great comeback against the Islanders. They should have beaten Philly in regulation, but it is what it is. They still get the win. And then just that blip in the San Jose game, like I watched the game and they dominated pretty much the whole thing. It was literally five mistakes end up in the back of the net, and it's just yeah, just one of those games. So yeah, I had to hold them back for that because you don't deserve to be in the top 16 when you can't beat the San Jose Sharks, basically.
Yeah, it's granted.
Yeah, it's granted. All right, let's move into the top 16. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Hey, look at that. We're continuing. We're doing it. We're doing it all the way.
Oh, I was surprised. I actually thought you might not have gone as hard on
Nah,
a
it was
certain
a, it was a
team.
it was a pretty quick snap at 16 for me for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to just be like, oh, we're on, and oh, not quite. Oh, we're on, and not quite. And it was the same thing this week. They get a loss in OT against Nashville. They beat Tampa Bay Lightning, and then they lose in shootout to Philadelphia. So they still managed to pull 4 of 6 points this week, but they only win one game. So yeah, it's it's just thereabouts for them at the moment. I feel they're not quite where I think everyone thinks they should be, but they're right on the cusp. So it's a tough one with the Pens because they're playing some reasonable hockey, but then they're making some really stupid mistakes. Like I don't know if you saw that stuff up on their power play against Philly, which gave them the goal that leveled the game, and yeah,
Mm.
it was absolutely deplorable. And it's just what they're doing on their power play at the moment. They just no control on it, and it's costing them big time. But yeah,
Mm.
so it's so at the moment.
Alrighty. 15 Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah,
Moving
lovely.
back into the top 16. Well deserved. Undefeated for the week. They beat Tampa. They beat Colorado in OT, and then they beat St. Louis. But yeah, just pretty much flawless week from them. Besides maybe going to OT and maybe getting outshot by St. Louis by 10. But yeah, definitely had to move. Strong team. I think they're going under the radar on a lot of people for a long time. And yeah, it's just good to see them back in the top 16. I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I'm so pleased to see them there. And hopefully they keep it up. All
Alrighty.
right, on to 14. I have just moving down a spot, the Philadelphia Flyers.
Alright, I just have to check mine. Oh, that is where I have them too.
This has to be a record, but
I
yeah,
think
I mean,
it definitely is. It definitely is.
it 100% has to be. But yeah, like what do you say? They go 500, 1-1-1, loss against Carolina, the OT loss against New Jersey with the comeback to get the point, and then the shootout win against the Pittsburgh Penguins, which was another comeback. They were behind. So yeah, look, reasonable week to go 500. Why they sort of moved down one spot, but look, compared to where I thought they'd be this season, they're definitely outperforming. So yeah,
Mm.
solid. Let's
Yeah,
see if they can keep it up. That's the
yeah.
only
All
question I've got.
three games division rivals as well. So at least they
Mhm.
didn't go under 500 for that. Uh, thir-
Exactly.
13. I have the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's exactly where I've got them as well. So Jesus Christ, are you
Um,
reading off of mine or like?
so
uh,
they start out pretty poor in the sense that they lose to San Jose, then they go on the highs and beat LA back to back. They beat Anaheim, and then they go and lose to Vegas. So kind of a tipsy turvy week in regards to lose to a low team, beat a high team, beat a low team, and then lose to a high team. So it's why they moved down. It's just I think a lot of teams in this area have just been playing better than 500.
yeah, 100%. I agree with you. But still, good week for again what we'd expect from the Washington Capitals this year or this season. So yeah,
Oh,
still
and just
performing
another
really
game
well.
where 15 shots and they win 2-1 against LA, conceding 39. Just want to throw that out.
And
It's everywhere this season.
30 minutes in the ozone for the Kings, just like the Devils against the Sharks. So yeah, I mean it was the week for it, wasn't it?
Mm.
Oh, all right. Moving on to number 12, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, that's where we diverge. No, I've
Oh,
I didn't
it's
move on
finally
them.
broken.
I've still got them at 11. I didn't move.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. I don't mind that. Look, reasonable week for them, but again, it was riddled with just overtimes.
Mm.
Shootout win against Florida 2-1. Shootout win against the Kraken 4-3, and then the OT loss against Boston. So look, they take 5 of the 6 points. For me, I would have liked to see, look, Florida and Boston, really good teams, but for me, I think I would have liked to see that game against Kraken not go to shootout. I'm not seeing Toronto get the job done, and that's the problem I had compared to a team that's moved above them.
Yeah. I guess my thing with the Toronto one is what 5 out of 6 points. They pretty hard schedule in regards to they verse Boston and Florida, and the other team is Seattle, and they still get the win over Seattle. Granted, they conceded an extra 12 shots and it went to shootout, but honestly, other than that, I don't think I could move them down, so that's why I didn't for there.
That's fair.
Alrighty, on to my 12. I have Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, and they're my 11. I just like what they're doing. I think they can control the game a little bit better than Toronto at the moment.
Yeah, I understand it. It's just they had a weaker draw. They beat Wild, who's down there. They lose to Rangers, one of the best teams in the league right now. They on the back to back beat Chicago, and then they go to OT against the Canadians. So if you're talking about going to OT against teams that you shouldn't, I guess Canadians would be equal to
They'd
Seattle
be
there.
one of them, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And they did cough that up late. To be fair, they should have beaten the Rangers. Just some questionable things happening in that game, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think that's where I sort of weigh on. Like I feel like they got the job done against Minnesota like they should. They got the job done against Chicago like they should. They should have beaten the Rangers, and then they even though they take it to OT, they still get the job done against Montreal. So it's not that. Yeah, I just that one blimp in the OT against Montreal was questionable, but overall I feel like when Detroit get the job done, they get the job done. So yeah, that's my take on that at the moment. All
Alright.
right, me at number 10, I have. Let's see how we go with this, eh? The Vegas Golden Knights. I almost feel like it's too low, but also I'm not sure on them at the moment.
Nah, I haven't been
And
for a
you've
long
done the
time.
same.
Yeah, I
Mm.
I couldn't promote them, couldn't punish them. They go 2-1, but like what do you say? They beat Anaheim. Sorry, I am on the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah,
OT
two
lose
and
to
two.
Calgary, shootout lose to Oilers. So it didn't start off well. Granted, they get two
Mm.
points, and then they beat Vancouver and Washington. But I think it's just a team getting inflated by OT points, and that's what concerns me about this team, especially.
Yeah, well, I mean, the what what are they? They're 4-3 and what is it? 4-3 in the last. Yeah, 4-3 in the last 10. So it's just look, the last two wins are good wins against two reasonable teams. Vancouver been pretty good all season, and Washington are a surprise packet. So, a good end to the week, but I think I'm just still not convinced. I need to see them do this consistently for a few weeks, because I think their last few weeks prior to this has been a bit of a slip up. So
Mm,
yeah, I still can't kick them out of the top 10,
no.
but I definitely need to see more than what they've been doing.
Alrighty. Number 9 for me, I have the Vancouver Canucks.
Nah, same here. We're back on the same page. We had one
Yeah.
flip
Oh, and
out of an
honestly,
entire page. That's
it's a
pretty
coin
cool.
flip as well, so it's not even a big deal. Vancouver's week, this is the one I was looking at. They beat Anaheim, they lose to Vegas, and then they beat Calgary. So honestly, decent week. They moved down purely just because another team jumps them, not because they played bad, and that's how the top 10 goes sometimes. But still playing very strong.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they keep the way, like, even though I think their last 10 haven't been the best, I think they're 5-5. But, if they go 5-5 for the rest of the season, they'll still be relatively close to a playoff spot. I mean, they probably need a little bit better than that, but they're still performing relatively good. Plus 32 in goal differential. Yeah, look, unless they completely shit the bed, they definitely look like a playoff team this year.
Alrighty.
All right. A mover for me. Only a couple of spots because I'm just still not sure about these guys and their goaltending. The Carolina Hurricanes.
All right. I went bigger on Carolina here. They were number
He's
6.
oh yeah, he's gone a bit harder. And
I
look,
mean,
I
it was
get
one
that.
spot in compared to you, but it was just higher on them last week as well.
Yeah, and I do get it, but again, Columbus Blue Jackets, Philadelphia Flyers, New York Islanders, sorry, win against the Jackets, win against the Flyers, lose against the Islanders in OT, and then beat the Sabres. So not the strongest draw, but look, they get 7 of 8 points. They're performing a lot better than they had been. Um, so look, I like what they're doing, but again, that goaltending situation, it really does worry me. I think they've got a good enough team. Their defense is solid, even though it has been a little bit shaky this season. Um, but yeah, that goaltending really does worry me. That's what it boils down to for me. I just
I think it's
don't know.
consistency. I don't think this team's had like a win streak greater than 3 or something like that, like 3 or greater. It just seems to be one of those seasons where they win 2, lose 1 type of situation. And I'm just waiting for them to go on a streak. That's it.
Yeah, I think once that happens, I'll move harder on them. But at the
Mm.
moment, it's just baby steps.
Alrighty. 8 for me, I have the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, there's just one spot up for me in 7.
Yeah, so they go blank Ottawa 5-0 on the back to back. They shoot out lose to Toronto. 5-1 win against Montreal, then they lose by a goal against the Islanders, even though they outshoot by 18. It was yeah, just basically a 500 week, and that's why I don't really move them up, don't really move them down. They do go -1, but it was just because Carolina got the jump there.
I mean, that would have been the same if I decided to put Carolina above them. So yeah, look, I agree. Like they get the job done against the teams they should, and they sort of have a little bit of a hiccup against a couple of reasonable teams in Toronto and the Islanders. So yeah, can't hate on it too much and can't punish them too much. So
Mm.
all right. Me at number 6, I have the Winnipeg Jets just having a little bit of a hiccup after a really good run. They
Yeah, there's 7 for me.
that's, yeah, I mean, what do you sort of say? They were off to a great start. They got up to I think 4th last week for both of us. They lose to Nashville 2-3. Really tight game there. They get blanked by the Dallas Stars 2-0. They get beaten by the Oilers 3-1. And then they beat Chicago. So, they don't beat any of the teams. I mean, really, the only contender in that lineup was the Dallas Stars. They should be beating Nashville and they should be beating the Oilers, although both of those teams have been doing a lot better. So yeah, a little bit of a blip there, but I just don't want to punish them too much because, you know, the best teams have bad weeks. So let's see what they do next week. Hopefully they bounce back.
Yeah. Alrighty. Number 5, starting the top 5, the Colorado Avalanche.
Me too.
They do not move for me. They're weak. They went like this. They beat Tampa. They OT lose to Arizona, and then they shootout lose to Anaheim. And I guess that was just my concern. I don't know why they don't move. Just 2 OT or shootout losses, and they were against teams that were lower than them in regards to like Anaheim, Arizona, just going in the top 16 this week. And they started off beating Tampa, who has obviously slid. So a weaker draw in all things considered, and I couldn't move them up just because they get 4 out of 6 points, but it's not really a 2-1 week.
They only get 3, don't they?
Sorry.
Or did they get? Oh no, they OT lost
Yeah.
against
So 4 points,
Arizona.
2 OT,
Yeah.
and then yeah.
No, I didn't think they got the OT loss against the Yachts. That's all. But yeah, look, it's crazy, isn't it? You lose 2 games, you end up with 4 points above and end up above 500. So yeah, yeah, it's why I didn't move on him either.
Mm.
Like very questionable week, and the draw wasn't exactly tough. You probably expect they should have ended up with at least 5 or 6. So but it is what it is. All right. Number 4 for me, I've got the Dallas Stars.
All right, same here.
I honestly feel like the Dallas Stars have fluctuated from P4 to P6 for me all year. Like they've just
It
been
seems to be what they do. It's what
consistent.
they did last year as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm having a look quickly here at the thing. Yeah. So they have not been higher than fourth and lower than sixth all season. I mean, if that's not consistency, I don't know what is. But yeah, look, they had a reasonable 2-0 win against the Winnipeg Jets. They lose to the Flames in OT, even though they got outshot absolutely by 16 to 36, and then they get a massive 8-1 win against Tampa. So 5 from 6 points. Yeah, you kind of got to be happy with that.
Yeah. I guess it seems to be the issue with Dallas is they always have a small blip here or there, and I guess that one was against Calgary this week. They get the point, so they salvage something, but that was just a blip in that they only had the 16 shots. Onto the top three, starting it off, no movement, Boston.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their sort of last, I think they're 5-3-2 in the last 10. So you can start to question whether or not they should be pulled down. But also when I look at their week, I'm like, well, they lose to Columbus Blue Jackets, it's a bit of a blip, but then they get the job done against the Sharks quite convincingly, 3-0. Just get the job done and do it well. And then they get the 4-3 win in OT against Toronto with Brad Marchand breaking the Toronto Maple Leafs hearts just once again. Um, yeah, so I just look at their week and I'm like, well, 4 from 6. They're still second in points percentage, second in the standings. It's really hard. Like I know they've had a little bit of a drop, but I still think they're one of the stronger teams in the
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't think they're
league.
playing poorly though. Like that's the thing.
No,
It's why I couldn't move on them. Like I don't think like their performance has dropped from early in the season, but that's because like they're playing so good at the early of the season. So that it's a
well,
drop, but
exactly.
it's not that big of a drop when all things considered.
No, it's like they couldn't maintain that level. So yeah, I can't punish them too much. Yeah, so yeah, for me, especially because some of their losses have come against some pretty good teams as well, even though the Columbus lost this week. Columbus aren't all that great, but I still think Columbus are better than their standings are showing as well. So yeah, I just couldn't move on Boston either. All
Alrighty.
right, number 2 for me, they spent about 2 days at number one after the number one team lost at the beginning of the week and got absolutely pelted. But then they lost themselves in the only game they played. It's the Los Angeles Kings. Um,
Yes.
hard to move them to number one and hard to move them down when they only play one game, and that one game was a 2-1 loss against the Washington Capitals, in which they outshot them 39 to 15 and had a total of 30 minutes in the offensive zone, which is just ridiculous. How do you not win the game when you spend that much time in your own zone? Like,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on those exact numbers, but they spent a lot of time in their own zone. So to lose that game was just insane, and it's probably the only thing that was holding them back from that number one spot, especially after the team sitting in number one had the blip on the radar in their first game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much more to say when you only have one game. So I guess I'll just reveal. Obviously, in the number one, no movement, New York Rangers,
Second week in a row, yeah.
and it wasn't that one of the strongest. I guess it didn't start out the best with the loss to Buffalo, but then they do get the win over Detroit and then the win over Nashville. Though Nashville really took it to them. So these two are very heavily competing for the number one spot. Boston's knocking on the door, but it's really a close race right now between LA and Rangers. I think Rangers may be getting some injuries back as well. I think so that's going to be helping as well.
I think Heedle is either back or due back. So
Yeah,
I know he was coming. I'm not sure about Fox. But yeah, look, they've definitely got. It's insane the fact that they're number one, and they've got some big time players to come back into that team. The only worry I really had for them was it was a comeback against Detroit, and it was a comeback against the Predators. So they sort of they let both those teams get ahead of them. They obviously managed to complete the comeback and get it done. So that's obviously good news, but a little bit concerning that they can let themselves get 3-1 down in a game or 2-0 down in a game, and yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think. Oh, okay, maybe Heedle's not back, but I think he's due back pretty soon. So I think Heedle and then yeah. Oh, Fox. Yeah, Fox is back. Sorry, Fox is the one that's back. So Fox is back. Heedle's due back any day now. I think. So yeah, it's gonna be dangerous for the Rangers. They're already number one and they're getting even stronger. So yeah, let's see how long they can stay at number one. Hey.
Alrighty. Don't forget to like the video, comment below what you think our power rankings are and what your power rankings are compared to ours. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future content. But till next time, we'll catch you guys.
See you guys.